Okay, so this is what the rubric that you're going to get when you go to Edsby and you log on. You can see your grades in there, and you can also get, you'll be able to find this document in the comments that you can download. And I want to talk you through this of what this rubric and this test, how you should be looking at it. So first of all, in this rubric, really interesting here is that I have circled the problems that you got wrong, and you can look across and say, hey, this person uh, had trouble with subtracting integers, and specifically with subtracting a negative minus a positive. These are the regular level problems that I put in this column. In this column, I put the ones that I thought were a little bit more difficult in the high level problems. And then the new is things that you've never really seen the question asked in that way before, sort of new kinds of problems in here. And so you can see that this person had some difficulty with some adding and subtracting integers here, one problem in absolute value, a couple problems with multiplying integers, and one with dividing integers. And then that's basically all of the conceptual ones that we have here. And then down here, we have communication. You're also being assessed on communication. How well do you show your steps? Are you showing the checks of the ones that were asked for that? When you give your answer, do you write it with the units or in a complete sentence in there? And then this part here, I never count against you. You're not being assessed for this. Anytime you make any kind of computational mistakes, like if you did 4 times 5 is 25, I realize that that's not what really we're assessing here, even though you got it wrong. So I just circle it here, and you're still going to need to make your corrections on that, but that doesn't count against you. So that brings us into, I'm expecting you to fix all of your mistakes. So I want you to go to all these problems. They're also circled on the test, and we'll get to that in a minute here. Now, down below here, this is where you get to see whether you've achieved these benchmarks. So for this particular one standard of computation with negative integers, there's actually 4 different components of that, and you need to do well on all of those. You need to achieve all of them so that you can achieve the standard and be able to move on. So in this particular case, this student had achieved, this is what the A stands for, achieving, both the order of operations and absolute value, but had more difficulty with adding and subtracting integers and multiplying and dividing integers. And so this person got a P for approaching. You could also get a B for beginning. And then there were more down here. This one is this is a different standard. This one has to do with solving linear equations. And most people did pretty well on that one. And that one is, again, that's going to be the grade for that one's a little bit different. It is a different standard. Then down here, the number 3, I'm showing my steps. I show how to check my work. These are for communication. And the problem solving I didn't assess this year for this particular one. Okay, moving on to the test. So there's an extra page on there. You can delete it if you want. We're going to skip on to the test. That was just sort of the backside of the rubric when I copied it. And then, as you see in here, I put a check if you got it right. Oftentimes, like this person even got the problem right, got the answer right, but they didn't really show their steps correctly here. The absolute value of 14 minus 9, this is absolute value is a grouping thing, so they should do the part in the grouping first, 14 minus 9, which is 5. So now they're going to find the absolute value of 5 equals 5. So I am expecting everyone to write that, the absolute value of 5, and then get to the answer from there. So I put in here show steps, and that's just considered a communication error. You're not showing me how you got from here and what you're doing to get there. You just went right to the answer. This person wrote 14 minus 9 there. That's already written here, so that's not helping me understand what they did here. Suddenly, just the absolute value just disappeared, so it doesn't make much sense to me. When you have made a mistake, like this person did here, when they took a -4 times a -2, a negative times a negative should be a positive, and this person wrote a negative in there, I circle where you've made that mistake so that you know what to work on when you're going to make your corrections. You say, oh, that's what I did wrong. Same with here. This person did a negative divided by a negative and got a negative when it should be a positive. So you can see why this particular person needs to work on adding and subtracting integers, as there are several of you that need to do that. Look, continuing on here, sometimes I don't circle things. I just put an X there. In this particular case, -7 minus 7, this is like 7 holes, and another 7 holes, which should give you 14 holes, or -14. There's just an X here. Okay, so you know what it looks like when I'm correcting things. In this particular case, when you are going to give your answer, the question was, how many students were in the class at first? If you give me your answer as K is 15, you like, what does that mean? What's K? On here, so you should when you give your answer and someone asks you how many students you were, you say, hey, there were 15 students. Write a sentence out. Make it good communication so that you're telling me what's going on here. Okay, and I think that's basically it. This was another problem that students had difficulty with here. They have to do the order of operations, do the inside first here. -3 minus 2 is -5. This was good. The students somehow dropped off the absolute value in here, so that should still be there. And they did a good job of -2 plus 4 is 2, but they dropped the absolute value. So the absolute value of -5 is 5. The absolute value of 2 is 2, and we still have the negative in front of it, so it's 5 minus 2, which is 3. The last one I want to show you is on number 2F. This student actually did a good job, but most people got this one wrong. With that point right here, when it was -4 squared, -4 squared means -4 times -4, which is a negative times a negative, which is a positive, which this student did correctly. Many of you wrote a -16 here. So make sure that you understand that when anything that's squared is always going to end up positive, because a negative times a negative is a positive, and so is a positive times a positive. Okay, so make sure that, when I go back to here, also you are expected, before you take your retake, and everybody who has anything below an A for the first 5 categories here is expected to do a retake. You can't do it for communication, but you are expected to take a retake if you've got one of these here that's not an achieving. But before you do that, you have to show me that you have done this practice. And in this particular case, this is IXL practice, and it should be in grade 8. You're going to section C3 and doing that one. This person needs to do section C3 and C7, because those are the 2 ones that they did not have achieving it.